Hello everyone, this is the time to introduce you to a new episode of the Pew Football Podcast. As you know, I've been doing series 2 now, and episode 6 I think, and it's a special on Diego Armando Maradona. It's part of the research that I'm doing for the book that should come out next year, the book I'm working on, which is the life and story of Diego Armando Maradona as a player. To understand the player, though, you have to go deeply into the person. But I will only talk about the period that goes from when he started, when he was born, really, until he retires as a footballer. Because after that, it becomes so complex and complicated, and they are all what happens after that. They are all consequence of what he had been doing as a player. I think one of the anecdotes that describes what he's like. One of those anecdotes that keeps going back in my mind when I have to talk about Maradona or think about Diego is one that my friend Sergio Levinsky told me. Diego was with a friend in Zurich, and he was walking the streets of Zurich, having left the hotel, was walking the streets with a friend, and his friend was looking around and not much was happening, as in nobody was stopping Maradona. They went through one street, they crossed over to the next one, and his friend says, "Diego, aren't you amazed? Aren't you happy as well? We walked for like 1.5 kilometers from the hotel, and nobody has stopped you. Nobody seems to recognize you." And Diego said, "One more street, we cross one more road, nobody recognizes me, and I die." And I wanted to know, why is that? Why does he need total adulation of the world, or at least to know the line where the people that are with him and the people that are against him are? All that is what makes Diego Armando Maradona as a player, his battles with authority, his battles with addiction, the relationship to his wife, to his parents. All that is what I'm gonna get into. But to go in to answer some of the questions that I had, I put together 5 privileged brains of football in Argentina. I went to Buenos Aires around Christmas, sat them down in a typical Buenos Aires coffee shop, one of those in the corner. I think it's by Corrientes, one of the main avenues, commercial avenues of Buenos Aires. That would be Sergio Levinsky, who I mentioned already, who's a sociologist and very famous journalist and writer who wrote a biography of Diego Armando Maradona. Sam Kelly, a British man in Argentina that I found fascinating, and he's got his own podcast on Argentinian football, Hand of Pod, originally named. I like the name Hand of Pod. That's his podcast. Sebastian Garcia, an incisive journalist. He came over as well with perfect English too, like they all are. Esteban Bekerman, historian of Argentinian football, and Santi Bauzá, a young journalist who was not born on the year that Maradona won the World Cup. And I found that interesting as well. What would Argentinian man think of Maradona, even though he never saw him at his peak? So it's a nice mixture of opinions. As I said, I had some doubts. I wanted some answers. I found that those coffee shops in which time stops with the media luna, the hand moon, which are like croissants and the coffee, made us, go into some of the things that I needed to discuss with them, and I found, especially. I think the podcast will be definitely the longest ones that we have done, but one of the most interesting ones as well, because we touched on everything. I'll give you 3 examples of it. I'm going to put 3 clips of what we spoke about. The first one is the fact that when he was Argentina Juniors, he actually was one of the best goal scorers and already players in the league before he even was 20. In fact, he had made his debut with the national side in 77 and was the best goal scorer of the season in 78, but Menotti decided not to pick him for the World Cup. Why is that? Was it a decision based on football reasons or other reasons? So I wanted to hear a clip of the discussion I had with my friends and see if you can make sense of it. So he scored with Argentina Juniors 116 goals in 166 games.
Yeah, well,
That is a lot.
Yes.
It's almost a goal a game.
I think he was top scorer for the first division for 5 consecutive years, playing for Argentinos Juniors, which is not something that happens.
Yes. And he wasn't even a striker. That's amazing as well.
And not a striker. He was the scorer in the year of the World Cup in '78, and he didn't play.
He didn't make it to the World Cup squad. Yeah, he was cut. There were 3 guys. He left out of the
only
squad.
3 guys cut, go out.
If you read his book, that is one of his biggest motivations. He likes to hurt himself to be able to react and give his best version. So he makes his debut with Argentina in 1977.
The year I was born.
Against Hungary, yes.
So he goes in for against Hungary in La Bombonera.
Yes.
And he was out of the World Cup '78.
Yes.
Now, is it logical if you look at it with those eyes that he was out, or why?
No. I wrote in my book. I think this is very polemic, maybe, but I think Menotti always, and more in this time, was jealous.
Yeah.
Him for to be the star of the team. Because Menotti in this time was star. Also, he made publicities for TV, or he was a model with T-shirts on different clothes.
So Menotti felt that he would have taken a little bit out of his own attention.
Yes, this for one side, and for other side too, was a history is not 100% about Maradona, but the military dictator in this moment was a very big man, very close of sports, powerful, Lacoste. And Lacoste was fanatic of River Plate.
Who was Lacoste?
Lacoste was also president of the country for 11 days. Yes. He was a military.
Sorry to interrupt. This is during the military dictatorship.
This is the military.
And he made pressure to Norberto Alonso, who was in the team, and Alonso was number 10 as Maradona.
So you wanted Roberto Alonso to be in the team? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because he played for River.
Yes,
and Lacoste was a River fan.
Yes,
so it was a bit of a partisan.
And in this team, you have to think that was Villa number 10. Kempes can be number 10, La Rosa can be number 10, Valencia was number 10, Alonso can be number 10, and Alonso, and no place to Maradona.
And even Boccini was left out of
Boccini also out.
So, make your mind up. I don't know. I think it feels like Menotti has got a lot to explain on what happened, and he's done it for many times. Of course, he changed his mind immediately after the World Cup, having won it in '78. Maradona became a very important figure of the national side almost straight away after that. But there are so many interesting angles to the story of Maradona. But Maradona could have come to England a few times, could have signed for English teams a few times. And he could have done it around the Falkland War time as well, which would have been a fascinating encounter of politics and mind. He doesn't keep his mouth shut, does he? So it would have been a fascinating moment in the history of football as well as in the history of politics. Anyway, he didn't, but some of the stories that both explain who was close to get Maradona, plus what it means, that fascinating game between England and Argentina, that for me makes the player, the super player if you like, converts him into a myth and a legend. All that we touch with our group of friends.
And don't forget, because you have an audience, I guess there's people in Sheffield listening to this. Around that time there was a scout for Sheffield United who came to watch Maradona play, and the club deemed him too expensive. I think it was £400,000 pounds. And so instead they bought Alejandro Sabella, a very fine player. People in Sheffield.
He became a legend at Sheffield.
But it could have been Maradona going to England even before he went to Barcelona.
Second division in England, not the first one even.
Also, I think he says something in his book that it wasn't the time to go to England anyway, but it would have been interesting to see him at that point. It would have been a completely different story.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a chance that he could have been at England during the Falklands War as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Correct. So.
Or during the '86 World Cup, which would have been far worse for him.
What would have happened to him if he comes back to England after that?
God knows.
Do we want to guess?
He did though, didn't he? Didn't he play a friendly with Tottenham?
He played the testimonial for Ossie Ardiles 1 month before the World Cup in '85.
Yeah, wearing a Tottenham shirt. Yeah.
And in an interview after the game, they asked him. Actually, this is like a massive finding in the archives. Like, he's in the dressing room. Ardiles is his translator in this interview, and the journalist says,
"This is in Oxford.
Would there be
Oxford? Yes, in Oxford.
I don't know. That was
White Hart Lane. Yes.
White Hart Lane in the testimonial. They play against Inter, and they ask him, Diego, would there be any issues around the war? And if you have to play England in the World Cup, would there be any issues? And he said, no, there's not going to be any issues. Of course, he didn't know that he was going to score a goal with a hand.
I mean,
it's not by chance that we already mentioned the hand of God about, 5 times?
Yes.
Because the turning point of his career, quite clearly, is the England game. And we'll go back to that because he still has got to play the '82 World Cup, in which he gets sent off. And eventually, after the World Cup, he makes his debut with Barcelona. In that period, I remember going to see the games, and I remember looking at Maradona as a superstar already. I told you that was fascinating to have Sam Kelly involved because he has lived in Argentina for a while and he's English. So how about the hand of God? What does he think of it? And did he come with an idea first of what it meant and how he should be treated and judged? And did that change while he has been in Argentina? We discussed all that, and I think everybody had a word to say on it. When you came in, you came with an idea what that meant, what that goal meant, and what's happened since then?
I mean, I first came to Argentina when I was 19. So I was still, I'd formed opinions about football. I didn't have particularly strong opinions, especially about that World Cup, because as I said, I was 2. I might have watched that game when it was played. I can't remember it. Given that my dad's not a huge football fan, I doubt that I did, but he probably was watching the World Cup. But I found that one of the abiding memories actually of my first trip was of walking down Calle Florida, just a few blocks away from here, which is a pedestrian area full of tourist shops, more than anything now, in central Buenos Aires, and seeing, kiosks and shops lined with football shirts, retro football shirts, modern football shirts from clubs. One of them was selling, actually, the Argentina shirts, plural, from the '86 World Cup. One was the home one, the one they wore in the final, which I bought a replica of. The other one was the change kit, which Argentina wore in that game. And they had a sign up next to it saying, the shirt in which Maradona scored the goal, singular, against the English. And which of the 2 goals he scored in that game they were talking about, I guess you can kind of make your own mind up about it. Because as much as the first one was dirty, advantageous, clever, whatever you want to say, the second one is a demonstration of how, it was a tight game. Maybe if the referee had done his job properly and disallowed that goal, things could have gone differently. But ultimately, the second one, just a few minutes later, it's clear that was Maradona's game.
Diego Armando Maradona, fascinating as a player, as a person as well. He went through absolutely so much. He tested himself to the limit. He challenged authority. His happiness depended on how he woke up in the morning. His addiction took a lot of him. I think you can see it more now, perhaps, than then. But then already accelerated decisions and made his life hell at some point. There are so many anecdotes that I'm hearing about his life, so many stories, so many things that he went through. I don't think you can find any other player in history that has gone through so much, hence having so many books being written in Spanish, over 35 I counted, not so many in English. That's what made it interesting for me. How about if I told the story, not from his point of view, he wrote two autobiographies. Both of them are in English, of course. There isn't much more published in English on Maradona. And I wanted to put his point across, why he did what he did, trying to explain that as well. But I'm going to do it from a different point of view. The book will be also based on stories around the people that were close to him, looking after him, perhaps challenging him as well. So see Maradona through their eyes, as well, of course, as getting to understand why Maradona behaved the way they did. Some of the stories I hear made me very emotional. Some of them really get me upset and uptight. So I want to share all of that with you. I've been with Maradona, I've been with Diego. Last time was in an open discussion that we have, open conversation, open interview in front of public in Jordan. And if you go into my YouTube channels in the videos, you'll find it there. It's also with subtitles. But in any case, I probably transcribe most of it for the book. A book that I have to start writing. I've done a lot of research, a lot of traveling for it, and now it's time to put it all down into words. I probably will start next month. That will be May. And then the idea is, of course, I have to send the draft by December, perhaps even a little bit earlier. The publishers will be will be happy, and will be interested in hearing all that. It's been an amazing journey, and it will be one that I cannot wait to do fully and to share that with you. Having done my last book on an Argentinian, Mauricio Pochettino, Brave New World. This is another Argentinian that Pochettino crossed paths with, so I'll have to talk to him as well. And one that I think all of us have got an opinion on. Well, I may challenge that opinion if you give me the chance by reading the book, but still too early to sell it. For now, this is it. Remember, follow the podcast, if you can, the Pew Football Podcast in the usual places where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I tend to put things regularly. I have to record, and I am recording every week, and ask Guillem with your questions. And I'm planning to do also interviews with people that have been affected by this situation at the moment, footballers, agents, the clubs, and I think you may find that interesting as well. So follow the channel. Meanwhile, that's it for now. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.